Howdy folks, Dirk Tharp here. Welcome to the Carolinas Concrete Cowboy. Today's subject, we're going to talk about how to joint, proper joining and proper concrete practices over a drain pipe or drain tile. So saddle up, let's ride. A very common concrete issue when finishing up your driveway, your entranceway, is going to be often there's a drainage pipe or a drainage tile to deal with. So we're going to talk about a best practice before you pour the concrete, and then what should you do after you pour the concrete.
So a smart idea is placing wire on top of your drainage pipe before you ever place the concrete.
So you just saw where on small pipes, at a minimum, we're recommending putting welded wire mesh over those pipes before you pour. An additional measure the contractor did on this driveway entrance, because of the size of the pipe, he went ahead and put down some rebar sticks as added structural measure to help hold it together. Because remember, reinforcing wire and rebar isn't to stop something from cracking, it's to hold the concrete together after it cracks. So with that said, we've talked about what you do before you place the concrete. Now let's look at best practice after the concrete's placed. When you're finishing the concrete, obviously you want to put a joint right over the center of the pipe or the tile, as you can see here. So we talked about putting a joint directly over the center of the pipe, or at least in the quadrant where the pipe is laid. But just as important is to put a cross joint. Go ahead and put a joint at the midway point, because what happens is a drain pipe and any impediment under the concrete, obviously there's movement between the ground and the concrete surface. But when you add water to the mixture, there's a lot more actions going to happen over the years as a drain pipe lets water run from one side of the property to the other. So with that in mind, you're going to give yourself an extra joint, and that way we have 4 independent floating slabs. Even though they're still held tightly together by the rebar, there's still some flex points allowing things to look orderly. If you skip this step, I promise you, the front quadrant of your driveway is going to crack all to pieces. May not be right away, but it will be within a few years. So remember, we talked about 4 quadrants. Obviously, you've got to give yourself somewhat of an equal distance from the first section to the center joint. You need to do an equal on the opposite side. Doesn't have to be exact, but make it in the neighborhood where the 4 pieces are similar in same size. And that way you ensure more of a clean joint that the 4 pieces can float together and still look brand new for years to come. So today we've examined the proper ways to get ready for concrete over the pipe or your drainage tile, but also the best practice on how to joint. Today you saw an example of a hand joint. That's where a groover was used while the concrete was soft. The same rules apply if you're wanting to use a saw cut joint. Nothing changes. Still the same logic. It's still you still are pre-planning where the joint's going to pop, whether you cut it by saw or by hand. So remember, all of this is to help you be happier with your job and your customer to be happier with your job in years to come. My name's Dirk Tharp. This has been the Carolinas Concrete Cowboy. And until next time, yippee-ki-yay concrete. Legal disclaimer. The views expressed by the Carolinas Concrete Cowboy, although profound, and his actions, albeit masterful, are his and his alone. If you've enjoyed these videos, please like and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, Carolinas Concrete Cowboy. And by all means, we look for your feedback. If you've got a session you'd like us to do or some questions you'd like answered, give me the feedback below or email me at carolinasconcretecowboy@gmail.com. Happy trails.